Good afternoon, everybody. 12:56 on this 27th day of January. How's everybody doing? Everyone thawing out, trying to stay warm, hopefully. Cold. I know. It's frozen out there. All right. Hope you are doing well. A little bit of a later edition here of Snow Talk on this Tuesday. We had some press conference this morning from the governor and the mayor to update everybody on the winter storm cleanup plan that's been going on around the area, and of course the cold setup as well. Now we're getting into that phase of water main breaks, pipes bursting. That's going to be certainly common when we try to thaw out into next week there. All right. Hope you guys are well. Again, welcome to Snow Talk. I'm Wave Meteorologist Brian Good. This is where we have a chance to talk about all things snow, short-term and long-term. And we'll cover the snowboard, outline where we're at on some of those chances. We'll discuss that in a little more detail, and then we'll get into some longer-term stuff as always. And some of your questions as well, which, by the way, if you are watching on streaming, you may not be able to obviously see a function to chat. That's on the social media side. So YouTube, X, Twitch, and Facebook. Good place to go if you want to chime in. And usually the YouTubers outweigh Facebook, like 5-1 here. So YouTube is a big spot for comments. So that's a whole other weather club I've noticed on YouTube. So you guys take care of yourselves. Hope you are well again and staying warm. All right. So let's get into it. Let's start with the snowboard. All right. We'll go there. That's fine. That's fair. And on the snowboard, we do have the light snow. And now we got flurries this afternoon, but it's really, really minor. Really minor. The light snow potential. And it's really for part of the area on Thursday. It's not for all. I'll explain coming up. And we got a few snow showers that we'll be tracking for Saturday. And then another chance for light snow Monday, and likely light snow or perhaps something other than snow when we try to warm up in the middle of next week. Still need a little more time to decipher the coding on that one. It's like a puzzle. It will likely get added to the board as early as tomorrow, but we'll worry about that a bit later. Show you right now, this is a live look from the storm tracker. I-65 right now coming northbound on the interstate heading toward the city of Louisville. Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah, that's a threat that you got to deal with when you're out and about traveling, right? Yeah, the snow coming off the semis. I ran into that coming in this morning as well. Usually some of the cars you got to worry about, but the semis, especially when they travel from state to state. Look at that. Ooh, yikes. You don't want to travel too close. just kind of hang back a little bit when you're traveling behind semis, because all it takes is one of those sheets to come right at you, especially if it's ice, and then bam, goes right into your windshield. We've seen that many times. You can't tell. You can't really see the snow on top very well. But as they journey, especially into areas that are sunny, has a bit more of a melting impact onto it, and it begins to finally break free. So again, be careful traveling. Allow a lot of distance there between you and the semis. Oh, there goes another piece. Boom, boom, boom. There you go. All right. It's like, almost like a video game. You got to just decipher around it all there. All right. So it's not getting better either. Yeah, Storm Tracker, that's a good idea. I would get off the interstate. This is St. Catherine exit. Look at that. It's all right. All right. Usually we've got to worry about that drop at St. Catherine. They took care of that. Looks good. Looking good there as you head toward heading toward Preston, Jackson area streets. Looking good there. They've been treated a lot easier today. But look at those angles of snow mounds, again, where those mergers happen on interstate ramps. Got to be careful. Those are like brick walls. Don't run into that. And you can see how the snow that's been piled up on the cars on a lot of the side streets. That's another challenge. Boy, if you parallel park, you know what I'm talking about, whether it's the highlands of downtown Louisville, you got to deal with that, where you just get buried by the plows. So you need that to be cleaned off in order for you to get your car out. And it's kind of just works against you over and over. So I feel for you guys if you have that situation. That's always a battle every year for winter. Certainly when you get a deeper snowpack like this one, it's much more of a pain to take care of. All right. Well, we'll keep it on the feed there and let you know if anything else develops while they're journeying around the city. I mentioned the board. Let's get right into where we're at right now. This is a SkyTruck camera into New Albany. They did the same thing, by the way. They took care. They went through this morning, closed several of the streets in downtown New Albany, cleared all the areas where the cars park, got that all taken care of, salted it, and then they reopened it, and now everybody's back parked again for the lunch hour. So they're trying to take care of the problem I just showed you, where they're trying to sweep things out. Now, you could do that when you got streets in front of a business. Easier to close them down and clean it. It's hard to do in a residential area. So little apples and oranges here, but the same idea is at play. If you look carefully, you can see them doing it right now, right there behind the traffic light. They're right there shoveling it and moving it off to the side. I've been noticing the same thing in Corydon as well today. All right, temperature outside 24. Oh, my goodness. We're getting into South Florida weather. 24 in Louisville, 25 into Fort Knox, 23 in E-Town. We dropped to 6 this morning in Louisville. The coldest in Kentucky for our area, I was able to find 1 degree. I had 1 degree actually at my house, and we had 1 degree, I know, in Meade County as well, and Carroll County. Actually dropped to about 0, depending on the rounding. About 0, it looks like, in Carroll County. Indiana, we didn't get as much data on it, but I'm sure you dropped below 0 there. The coldest wind chill I was able to find was in Indiana. In Bedford, is 16 below 0. Well, we've improved that somewhat. Today is a warming wind over the snowpack. That's why we're getting into the 20s. But still, the wind is what you got to battle here today. And the wind chill feels like 12 in Louisville and 9 still in Bedford and 6 into North Vernon. We will get back to those really low wind chills as we get into, well, even tonight, we'll drop below 0 again. Perhaps into Thursday night, we'll see. I think the clouds may keep that from being a huge issue. But I think Saturday morning, Friday night, Saturday morning will likely feature a very similar setup to last night during the overnight, where we dropped to double digits below 0 on wind chill. That's the next opportunity I see that can happen. So we're not out of the woods yet on these deep freeze numbers, but we're almost there. Just a few more days and we'll see that ease a bit more. So because of the below 0 wind chills we're expecting tonight, not as brutal as last night, but still below 0. So the cold weather advisory is out already. Areas mainly for the deeper snowpack zone, roughly I-64 and north, a little more prone to that. So same rules apply. Stay bundled up, limit your time outside. You know the drill. Today, yes, the wind chills are cold, very cold. In fact, you're not sub-0, but at least the actual numbers are in the 20s. That is going to continue to help the salt process with the sun outside, although we're about to replace the sun here very soon. Here are the forecast actual lows. I think 7 here in Louisville is fair. You leave the Waterson, and you're going to run into areas that may drop to or even below 0 into the overnight. All right, so there we go. We got another bitter cold setup for the overnight hours. So hopefully you've already eliminated some of the issues you've had developed in the past couple of days with battling the cold. If not, get ready. More is coming. All right, now this is the snowpack looking from space. I always love this image showing that across Indiana and Kentucky. Always an interesting way of looking at snow, right? You can really see elevation too in the tributaries of creeks and rivers. Always very cool. I was a remote sensing class at WKU. It was one of my favorite courses where you study a lot about satellite imagery, and this was always visual satellites are always my favorite. Okay, anyway, look at the cloud cover developing over the snowpack. This is very common when you take any type of moisture and run it over the snowpack, and that wind flow you actually get. It's not really lake effect snow, but it's kind of the same idea where it's adding enough of a kick there for like an unstable setup, and you can get some flurries that break out. But it's not just there. I'm also watching areas to the north as well that may fire up. I'll show you FutureCast in a second. Now, we have a chance to get some streamers off of the Great Lakes, especially Lake Michigan, as we head into Saturday. But I'm watching to see how much of the lakes are freezing over, because if they freeze over, we don't have as much of that potential. This is heading toward Erie and parts of Ontario, and you can see there it's a lot of ice. So the lake effect snow machine has eased a bit. Superior into Lake Michigan, ice on the edges, but still some of that's not frozen over. You can tell by looking at the darker side of that. Ice would be the more gray look. So there's still some unfrozen areas. So they're still getting some lake effect, but obviously if they had a lot of unfrozen territory on the lakes, it'd be way worse. That's why you're not hearing as much about that right now in the headlines compared to what we had certainly in December. But still, we could get one or two little bands that could come off Lake Michigan over the weekend. More on that in just a few. This afternoon, waiting to see how much of the cloud cover redevelops in Indiana near Cincinnati. Just like you see here in Kentucky, it should be a similar setup in Indiana. We'll see. And that's what's going to spit out maybe some of these flurries as we head into this afternoon. You see a hint of that into the evening hours. They develop very, very light stuff, but we're so cold. Obviously, you guys get the idea that even with a flurry Mageddon that moves into the area, you can get a coating of snow that could cause maybe a slick spot or two to be renewed again later on this evening. Then the other issue we got to watch is also fairly common with snowpacks, and that is when you get warm air flying over it, warm air advection over a very cold ground, being certainly snowpack. That's the case. You get fog, and we're going to be obviously well below freezing. So freezing fog is what we're talking about. Now, the modeling doesn't really pick it up very well, but it should be basically where you've got more than 3 inches, especially on the ground. It will be much more prominent than a little bit more of a patchier snowpack or lighter, thinner, shallow. The fog is going to be very close to the ground forming. I don't know how widespread it'll be fully yet. We're still working on this because it really depends on how the flurry machine acts here this evening. If the clouds linger with that longer, that may prevent this from being a huge issue, but it's something we're watching. So I just want to mention it. And this is not the only night we may face this, but if you get that freezing fog to develop, two things can happen in this scenario. One, you can get a light glaze that can form on the cars, very, very minor glaze, not the same as a full-on icing from an ice storm scenario. It's very, very minor glaze. All right, the scraper will take care of this, and your door shouldn't freeze all the way shut like that. But still, be careful walking. You can get a light glaze on some of the sidewalks and porches if they don't have salt on them that you've treated. So I just want to mention that, and certainly the ramps that are untreated, anything kind of fly over an interstate and overpasses, they can develop to a light glaze. So just be mindful of that tonight, especially after 2 o'clock in the morning. That looks to be the prime window to see that. But here's the thing. After you create the freezing fog scenario and the fog especially tries to lift just a bit, you can get flurries to form right in that very shallow moisture layer. I mean, the flurries, you can almost see them driving on the interstate. You'll look in the distance, the clouds will be very low to the ground, the fog, and it also look a little hazy, and that's flurries you're driving into because you're driving right into the cloud, right? So, and you have full-on sun above it or a blue sky. I've seen that many times here happen, and it can be wild to see too, especially if you are able to see above it. It's pretty wicked to see that. But again, just be mindful there could be a few flakes flying with that into the overnight hours and early on your Wednesday. Otherwise, Wednesday overall looks quiet for us. Thursday is interesting. Thursday is where we got the Arctic high, the second piece that drops down and crashes into the Ohio Valley and creates that whole, the inflatable thing at the lake where it causes someone to jump up. If you jump on one side of it, someone flies in the air. Same thing, sort of. I'm trying to give you a visual idea of what it looks like on a map, basically. But the high pressure digs down. We got a clipper that's rolling into the area. That clipper will become the boss eventually and feed into a winter storm for the Carolina coastline. Wow. and then eventually into the New England area, Nantucket, Boston, New York City, and Jersey Shore may get a burst of snow out of this. But for us, we're at the very beginning stages of this. We're still in the Arctic air, and this little clipper that'll dig into the region will try to zip across Kentucky. Now, a couple of things with that. Typically, when they do tend to dig more south than north. So there is a chance this entire band, as it approaches Thursday night, I think this will be after sunset, by the way, after sunset Thursday. After this digs in, sometimes it can push all the way south. So there's a chance this band could go all the way to Nashville and barely even touch our counties. So some caution, and that's why the chance is only 30%. We need to see how much of a force this will have, but that's just the feature we're watching, because as it digs into the area, just like we've seen with low pressures before, it'll slide into the Kentucky, Tennessee region, and then there's a pivoting that'll happen, a bit of a lingering aspect. And as it begins to pivot and linger a bit, that's where we could see a bit of an overachieving setup where you can get a little closer to an inch of snow in spots out of that band as it digs in and turns, and then eventually again feeds, as you'll see in a second, the winter storm for the East Coast that is likely to develop. But for us, light snow, this is not a snowstorm, but any type of snow added into the mix will freshen up the issues on the roads into Friday morning. I know for kids that are hoping to complete the entire week of having no school, you really want to just cap Friday onto it. Well, this will be one of the issues we're watching. But again, it could miss Louisville, especially. It could miss us completely, and we don't have anything to worry about. But it's at least on the board. It moves in, moves out. We'll go with, again, an inch potential out of that, especially that lingering effect. Otherwise, you'll get a dusty on the northern side of that, and then other areas, nothing at all. Give us some time to work on this. We'll let you know if we adjust this anymore. But here it is, diving in. Look how minor it is. Just a little baby that's about to grow up. And as it moves into the Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley, it digs to feed in a natural reaction you get with Arctic air into the technically warmer waters here of the Gulf Stream into the Western Atlantic. So it's just an automatic reaction that happens. Low pressure loves this environment. They love it. And it will just ignite into a full-on winter storm that's going to have a lot of wind with it too. Could even be close to blizzard levels for the immediate coast, especially in this area of the country from around the Delmarva Peninsula into about Nantucket. That's where the wind really ramps up. But for the Carolinas, it could be interesting. They could get a nice little thumping of snow out of this, and especially the more you are to the coast, you don't always say that, but more they are to the coast may actually be higher totals than away from the coast. So a little bit opposite of what they just went through, kind of flipping the impact zone from west to east. For us, it is just a full-on Arctic blast. Again, that's the reason why I think Saturday morning we will likely get double-digit wind chills back, because this is a piece of the polar vortex we're talking about here sitting around on top of us. So very, very cold again to start the weekend. You see a hint of that lake effect snow band right there. I just don't know yet how much of that and how strong the wind will be. It depends on how fast this gets strong. If this gets strong enough, it will help in driving in a near north to south wind right around 65. You can get some snow showers out of that. It's minor stuff, but just mentioning that's why we have a snow chance in for part of Saturday. It's because of this. Otherwise, no doubt, this is going to get all the attention on social media. That's fine. We can let them have it for once, right, guys? I mean, it's time for the Carolinas to have some fun. Cape Hatteras, Cape Lookout, Wilmington, North Carolina, Myrtle Beach. Hey, maybe. We'll see. It continues to head off the coast, and then we have a warm front. It's a clipper that's got a warm front with it. That'll have the frontal features with it, which is not always the case, but we went through this. When was that? A week and a half ago. We had the clipper with the warm front that warmed us into the 40s, and then we crashed rapidly that night with snow showers. You may remember that. It was kind of a challenge and a pain to forecast, but this one's got a warm front scenario like that. But obviously, we're way colder than we were at that point. But that will have a band of snow on the leading edge of that. Timing that out, that should arrive Monday. You see it in the wee hours Monday morning, moving to the Midwest, and there it is right over us by Monday afternoon. Still some wiggle room on that, but it's a boundary more than a closed low scenario. So it should be just a band of snow, not so much a blob, if you will. It looks like a blob, but not necessarily. It should be more of a boundary. But anyway, that will be moving in on Monday. Temperatures should rise in Monday night into Tuesday, the way it's looking to, by the way. But that leads us to a warmer scenario. that tries to unfold. But the problem with that, as you guys know, is you're going to get more of a storm track back in the area. Again, we're introducing warmer air. You got to have warmer air to get back into the game. If you want a little bit more of a kick than clippers and dustings, warmer air has to be induced. And we see that signal. Now, caution here on the modeling. And I think what the Euro is doing is fair, to be honest, though, even I'm doing this caution. And that is the ground is going to be is very, very cold. It's frozen. We're still going to have snow on the ground at this point, even into Wednesday of next week. So even though this may show rain, I think it'll adjust to likely showing something other than rain as we get closer in time, just because of the very cold ground. So we need to watch that. You know where I'm going with that talk, but we'll see. That would be about the middle of next week, but yeah, it's interesting. Again, I may end up adding the snowboard tomorrow to watch the middle of next week. There is an attempt to phase too with this piece of energy. It's almost two pieces of the northern branch. You got your polar jet, though. I mean, extreme polar jet. And then it's not necessarily a subtropical jet. It's close, but it's a northern branch feature. But they're both moving about the same gap and same speed. They're just driving side by side like those little, what are those little things called? The little buggies on the side of a motorcycle. You ride along the side, you know what I'm talking about. It's that kind of idea. They're kind of riding side by side here, but it's the buggy part we got to watch as we head into the middle of next week. And then after that, well, it gets even more interesting because now, I didn't mean to show that. Hold on. Don't look at that. Don't look at that. This is what I want to show. We are seeing signs of another stratospheric warming event. Yay. You see the green that drops down. This means the polar vortex again is going to be either severely stretched or completely displaced. So once again, it is going to have another opportunity to dive into the United States. Whether it does or not, I don't know yet, but I will say the teleconnections, when you get a positive PNA, negative NAO, negative EPO, everything is lining up for it to be certainly in the mid-latitudes. I just don't know what section yet, especially North America and United States, it will aim toward. But this is later into February, perhaps into March. Now, the plus side there, we get a higher sun angle. So these Arctic attacks lose a little bit more of their intensity, but still February, late February especially, yeah, it's still winter. So it could still have quite the kick to it, but it certainly tells us that spring is not in a hurry to get here anytime soon, is what my whole point of all that is, that ramble, is that another flip here of the polar vortex seems to be happening. And when we're looking at the matrix for long term, you can see the signal, it may be hard to read, but it has a bit of an uptick near or just after Valentine's Day, and even some hints into early March, a bit of an uptick when the colors ramp up to another level. These are the different ensemble members, different lines of the model of the Euro. And when they're all filled in, I mean, confidence is high on getting snow down the road, but the amounts will matter based on the color. And you can see there's nothing really in the short term, so that should stand out to you. But everything ramps up more later into February. Type 1, if you're excited to hear that. Type 4, actually type -4 if you're not excited. Be sure the 10-day and I'll get to your questions. All right, we're going with, let's see, 26 this afternoon. We're almost there, right? A few more degrees. 7 or so, single digits the next few nights. Again, below 0 wind chills need to watch. I still think, again, Friday night, Saturday morning is going to be the tough period again. And then we'll monitor the snow chances for next week, especially for the middle of next week when we get a little closer to the freezing mark. Oh, a lot of -4s. Oh, boy. Oh, snow lovers. We have a big audience here right now. So there are a lot of you that probably are not fans of snow that are not on the block here every day. So, oh, boy. Timothy, where's your comment? Going into March, the frozen ground isn't a good thing. It has flooding written all over it. Timothy, you're right. That is a concern when you get into the warmer periods, especially with El Nino about to develop. We will be watching those kind of patterns. We'll worry about that later. But yeah, anytime you have a frozen ground for this long, it's a problem. And we've had a lot of wet springs here lately. And last year was, the winter wasn't too far off last year. We had a pretty rough winter, I felt like, last year. And this one's got similarities to it. But again, we had also a very wet spring. So, yeah, we all haven't had much sleep. We're all kind of just out of it. Our schedule's all over the place. Speaking of that, I'll be on Sunrise, by the way, tomorrow morning. So my shift will be a little different tomorrow, but normal for the rest of the week. Wayne, I know you're happy, Wayne. Bring it all. Capitalized all. Wayne's serious. He's a big bots fan. Big bots fan there. What did Crispy say? I didn't see what Crispy typed. Your comment flew by. Adam, well, I see a temperature above freezing. Yeah, I got a couple days technically on the 10-day. Now, again, that's air temperature. I don't know if the ground will not. I already know. The ground will not respond that fast. So that's always a problem. Coming out of the Arctic plunge, you got to be leery of anything that shows, especially rain. You got to watch it. It's a little misleading. So we talk about the frost quakes. Yeah, we can get those again tonight, especially with some of the melting that the sun will induce today, and then we drop again. Now, the drop won't be as dramatic until we clear the sky out. And it just depends on how quick these flurries fill in, too. If they lag a bit, you may hear some of the frost quakes where the moisture gets back in the soil and expands, causing that sound, that boom sound. But if we end up with a clearer sky than expected tonight, yeah, absolutely, we will have a faster drop. And that could be a little more dramatic. The quick drop is what's key on that in many cases. I mean, yeah, you got to have the moisture in the ground, but when you have a sudden drop, that's when our reports of the frost quakes increase dramatically. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you are anchored down and have got at least some TV shows to still watch. What's everybody binge watching right now? I'm sure you got something. You've already probably fished 3 seasons of something. I guarantee somebody has. But hold on. Pace yourselves on your TV shows because you got a long way to go here. This is where I think Netflix and all those shows and network streaming services, they need to come out with all these new shows immediately during the plunge of Arctic air in the United States. I mean, to me, that's a money-making move right there. Yeah, move those release dates up real fast. Come out with the big movies. Release The Mandalorian and Grogu now. Just do it now. Put it on Disney Plus. Just do it now. And I think everybody would be happy. All right, guys, you're awesome. Appreciate you all watching. And I'll tell you, we're going to have updates on the flurries with the radar this afternoon and the snow chances in the coming days. So don't miss our newscast. We'll be back on at 3 o'clock, and we'll get you covered all the way through this evening. All right, everyone. I'll see you coming up on the flip side. Take care and stay warm and watch out for that flying ice and snow off those semis.